What's up, man? Why do you look like you're trying to hack into the Pentagon?
I always wanted to start a tech blog. Now that I did, I don't find time to actually write content for my blog. It's very time consuming.
You know you don't have to manually write content for your blog, right?
What? How?
Dude, are you living in like 2010? You can literally automate it with AI.
Artificial intelligence? Can I actually do that?
Absolutely. With just a little bit of Python scripting, you can make AI generate content for you and then automatically post this content to your WordPress blog at regular intervals without any human intervention.
That sounds cool. Can you show me how to do that?
Alright, let me show you how it's done. Alright, first things first, I'm going to go ahead and install WordPress, and once I do that, I'm going to write a Python automation script that talks to the OpenAI's API, basically sends a prompt to the GPT-4 model to generate content for my blog. And once I have this AI generated content, I'm going to make use of WordPress's REST API to automatically create a post on my blog. It's as simple as that. So obviously, if you want your WordPress blog to be accessible on the internet, you've got to host it with a hosting provider. In this video, I'm going to use WebHostMost, who are also the sponsors of this video. WebHostMost is a hosting provider that offers various hosting solutions for a very affordable price. For example, you can see their subscription starts from $2.50 a month, and if you want to go for the pro version, it's $5 per month, and it's literally cheaper than a Netflix subscription. They offer a variety of services. You can see they offer WordPress hosting, Node.js hosting, Python hosting, and PHP hosting. In this video, we'll obviously be using the WordPress hosting because we will be hosting our WordPress blog with WebHostMost. And there are three things that I absolutely love about WebHostMost. The first thing is that they are incredibly affordable. As I already said, the subscription starts from $250 a month, which is really cheap. And secondly, to install WordPress or to install any other service like Node.js, like NPM or a Python web app, anything, it's very simple. You just click a button, you just put in your configuration details into the UI, and you just click a button and everything is set up for you. You don't have to manually do anything. So that's another thing I really love about them, because they take the complexity away from the setup process. So you don't have to do anything complex or fancy. The third thing that I love about them is that their services are really fast considering the price that they are charging for these services. So I'm going to use WebHostMost, and I encourage you to try them as well. The link will be in the description below. Let me go ahead and log in to my WebHostMost account here. So as you can see, I already have a domain set up for me in WebHostMost. Basically, I bought this domain called techreader.io from a different provider, but then I migrated this domain from the other provider to WebHostMost, and it's very simple to do so. So if you happen to have a domain name with someone else, you can easily migrate it to WebHostMost. The only thing that you need to do is, if you click on this view NS button here, it's going to show you 4 name servers. So you basically have to copy these 4 name servers, go to your provider DNS settings, and then replace your existing name servers with these name servers, and just give it like 10 to 20 minutes, and your name servers will now point to WebHostMost, and you can use your domain with WebHostMost. But that is only if you already have a domain with some other provider. If you don't already have a domain name, you can purchase one directly from WebHostMost as well. I've got my domain set up here, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Go to Control Panel. This is my control panel. I'm going to go to Website Management, and I'm going to click on Advanced Installer Hub. And as you can see, these are the different services or the different softwares that are available for you to install on your WebHostMost instance, right? So you can see there are a lot of services, not only WordPress. You can also install other CMSs like Joomla, for example, or other Python web app frameworks, etc., etc. There are a lot of services that you can install. But anyway, I'm going to click on WordPress here because that's what I'm trying to install, and I'm going to click on Install Now. So it's going to ask you to choose the domain where you want to install the WordPress. I'm going to choose techreader.io here, and you can also choose the version of WordPress that you want to install. I'm going for the latest version of WordPress, and over here you can configure your admin username and your admin password. It's going to automatically generate a random username and password for you. Awesome. So I'm going to click on Install, and this is going to go ahead and install WordPress. And would you look at that? Just 10 seconds later, the WordPress software has been successfully installed. Now, if I just go to techreader.io, which is my domain, you can see I have a WordPress blog for myself, which is hosted at techreader.io, exactly the way I intended it to be. Right, so to log in to my WordPress admin panel, I'll just go to techreader.io/wp-admin, and you can see it directly logged me in without me having to type in my admin credentials. So there is a quick onboarding process that you can do. So if you're interested to go through with this onboarding process, you can click on get started, but I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to say, no, I don't want to try an easy setup process because I prefer to do it directly from the WordPress admin panel. And this is the WordPress admin panel. So you can go to appearance here. And over here, you can choose the different themes that are available, or you can just click on add new theme and, browse the marketplace of WordPress themes and install them. But, I'm just trying to keep things simple for now. I don't want to show you how to configure or customize your WordPress website. That's not the scope of this video. So I'm just going to use the default theme here. So anyway, I've now installed WordPress on my domain. And as you just saw, it's very easy to do so with Web Host Most. It just took like literally 2 minutes to set up my own WordPress blog. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test if I can access the WordPress API, or in other words, if the WordPress REST API is functional. There is a very quick and easy test for that. You basically just copy your site's address, open a new tab, and go to wp-json/wp/v2/users, hit enter. And if you see a JSON response like this that lists all the users on your WordPress site, currently I only have one user named admin. So if you see a JSON response like this, it means your WordPress REST API is up and running and it is functional. The API comes functional by default, so there are no configurations that need to be done to enable it. So you should be good to go. This is just a check to verify that it is working, right? Next thing, I'm going to go ahead and start writing the Python code. I'll create a new file called aigenerate.py, which is going to basically send prompts to GPT and get the responses back. Before writing the code, I would like to show you my OpenAI's dashboard. You can see I have created a project at platform.openai.com, and I've allowed access to these models: 3.5 Turbo, GPT-4, and 4 Turbo. And I'm going to use GPT-4 Turbo for all the things in this video, and also DALL-E for generating thumbnail images for my blogs. I am not going to show you how to set up a project on OpenAI's platform. All that stuff is very well documented, but basically what you need to do is you need to create an OpenAI developer account, create a project, and generate API keys so that you can use those API keys from your Python script to send prompts to the model of your liking. That being said, I'm going to come back to my VS Code here. I'm going to create a new .env file to store my environment variables. So the first environment variable that I'll store here is the OpenAI API key, obviously, because I would need it to make requests to the OpenAI's API. And then I'm going to import a library called .env, and then I'm going to say .env.load.env, which will load all the environment variables from the .env file that I just created. And also I'm going to import OpenAI library, which is the library that we will use to make calls to the GPT API. And looks like we don't already have that library. So I'm going to go to my terminal and I'm going to say pip install OpenAI, and that's going to install it. So the first thing I'm going to define in the script is the prompt for actually generating content ideas for my blog post. So before I can actually generate the blog post content, I need the topic ideas, and I'm going to get these ideas as well from GPT. So I'm going to make use of this prompt right here to get those ideas. It says generate 5 unique and highly engaging blog post ideas related to category. This will be formatted later. Avoid repeating these topics. So basically I'm also passing the existing topics that were already posted so that GPT will avoid those topics and generate new topics. It's to basically make sure there are no repeated blog posts, right? Each idea should be relevant for 2024 and beyond, because we don't want to post outdated content. Easy to write without requiring real-time news updates. This is an important statement because currently when you're using the GPT API, you cannot ask it to search the web. Whereas if you're actually using ChatGPT from the web UI, there is an option where you can enable search, right? But that feature is not available in the API yet. So there is no way that GPT can search the web for real-time updates or real-time news. So we are asking it to write without requiring real-time news updates because that's one thing that we know the AI cannot do. Useful for programmers, cybersecurity experts, computer geeks, or DevOps professionals. And once again, you can configure this prompt as per your liking. Search engine optimized. Response should contain only ASCII readable characters. No other special characters are allowed. Category names are case sensitive and should be an exact match. So these category names we will define later. Actually, let's go ahead and define them now. So I'm going to define my categories here. So you can see I have 6 categories: programming tutorials, cybersecurity and ethical hacking, Linux, DevOps, AI and automation, troubleshooting guides. So you can add to this list or you can modify this list to whatever you like, but these are the 6 categories that I'm going with for now. And then we are also saying return the response as a JSON object formatted like this: category and then ideas. So we are basically asking the AI to respond back to us in JSON format so that it will be easier for us to parse the response. I also want to maintain a database so that I can keep a track of all the topics that have been published, that have been already generated by AI, etc., etc. So I'm making use of SQLite, which is like a file-based database. And this is the code that I wrote for handling the database. I'm not going to explain this, but basically what it does, it creates a table called topics, which contains the ID, the category of the topic itself, the created at, which is the time at which the AI generated it, and whether it's published or not yet published. And then I have several helper functions. For example, this one adds a new topic to the database. This one gets an unpublished topic from the database, and then this one gets all the topics from a database. And then we have set topic published, which will set a particular topic as published in the database. By the way, all the code that I'm writing in this video, you can find it in the description below, so don't worry about it. So I'll go back to aigenerate.py and I will import the db actions here. And I'll say dbactions.init, db-init. So basically what this does is it creates the database if it doesn't already exist. So I'll write a send prompt function that basically takes in a prompt and it sends that prompt to the GPT API and it fetches the response. Now there are a couple of global variables that I need to define here. The OpenAPI key, it exists in the environment variable, but I still need to parse it. So let me do that. I'll say OpenAPI key and I'll get it from the environment variables, and also I'll define the model as GPT-4 Turbo. Awesome. So now we have a function that can send a prompt to the GPT API. And now let me create another function called generate topics. And in here, I'll enumerate through each category from the categories list that we have. And the first thing I'll do here is I'll get a list of all the existing topics that already exist in the database. If you're running this script for the first time, then it means that the database is going to be empty and this is going to be an empty list. But when this script is executed multiple times, it means that topics are already generated by AI and we don't want the same topics to be generated. And that's why we are first fetching the existing topics that are already existing, that were already generated by AI. All right, so then I'm going to concat all the topics with a comma like this. And finally, I'll go ahead and generate the topic ideas with the prompt that I've just written. And you can also see I'm formatting the category and the existing topics into this prompt right here. So when this prompt is sent, as you can see in the prompt, it's going to generate 5 unique topics for each category, right? And we are enumerating all the categories. So first, it's going to generate 5 unique blog ideas for this category, which is programming tutorials. And then it's going to generate 5 ideas for this category, and then 5 ideas for this, 5 for this, 5 for this, and 5 for this. So in total, it's going to generate 30 ideas in one single execution. And when these ideas are generated, we also have to add them to the database so that we can keep a track of the already generated topic ideas, obviously, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add these topic ideas to the database. So that's about generating the topic ideas, but now we also have to generate the actual content for each individual topic idea that has already been generated. So I'll go ahead and define another prompt. This prompt is for actually generating the content for a given topic idea. So this is the prompt that I'm going to use. write a structured blog post on the topic followed by the topic name. And then for the format, we are going to ask GPT to use Markdown for headings and formatting. For title, use something like this. For headings, use something like this. For subheadings, use something like this. And then also include code snippets when necessary inside triple backticks like this. And then use bullet points for lists, and with a conclusion, make sure the response only contains ASCII readable text and no other characters. And we are also defining the return format for it. We are saying return the response as a JSON object with the following structure. And this is the structure that we want to get the response in. So two fields, title, which contains the topic title, and then content contains the full blog post in Markdown format. So that's the prompt that we'll be using. So I'm going to create another function here called generate content, which will take in the topic ID, the category. By the way, the topic ID is like a unique UUID that's generated while the topic is being inserted to the database. So it's going to be a unique ID for each topic that is stored on the database. So topic ID, category, and then the topic itself. And then I'll call send prompt here. I'll pass in the appropriate prompt and I'll format in the topic. Now the response that GPT is going to give us is going to be in JSON because we instructed it to do that, but Python is not going to treat it as a JSON object by default. So in order to make Python treat it as a Python object, we can just do something like this, eval of content, and this is going to convert the text format because content is going to be text initially. It's going to convert that into a Python object. And the same thing, I actually need to do that for ideas here as well, because this is also expected in JSON, but by default, it's not treated as a Python object. So I'll just say ideas is equal to eval of ideas. And that's it. I'll go ahead and return the content here. Cool. So now we also have the functionality to generate content for a given topic. Now, another thing that I want to do is for every blog post, I also want to insert a thumbnail image, a featured image for that particular blog post. And we'll once again make use of GPT to generate an image for us. So I'm going to use this prompt for generating an image. It says generate an AI generated image representing the topic followed by the topic itself. The image should be visually appealing and relevant to the subject. Don't try to insert text into the image. So this is a very simple prompt that I'm using for generating a thumbnail image for a particular topic. So let me create another function here called generate thumbnail, which takes in the topic itself because we need to pass that topic to the prompt. So this one right here needs to use a different model. We cannot use GPT-4 Turbo because GPT-4 Turbo cannot generate images. Instead, you can use other models like DALL-E. DALL-E 3 is the model that I'll be using here. So here's the code for actually generating an image with the DALL-E model. You can see I have set the size to 1792 into 1024, which is going to be a rectangular image. Because that's the kind of image that will be suited for a thumbnail. And then we have set the model to DALL-E 3, and then we are also using the respective prompt for generating the image. That'll be it. So GPT is going to generate an image and it's going to respond back with the URL of that image. So I'm going to fetch that URL. I'll say image URL is equal to response.data of 0.url. So this is going to be the URL of the AI generated image, and I am going to go ahead and return it. Awesome. So I think that's all the functionality you will need to talk with the GPT API and generate content and the thumbnail image. So as I already said, in order to automate creating posts to your WordPress blog, you can make use of the WordPress API. Earlier, we have seen an example of the API in action, which is if you go to this endpoint right here, you can see a list of users returned in the JSON format. This is an unauthenticated endpoint, which means you don't need an authentication to make a call to this endpoint because this is not sensitive information. But if you want to create a post on your WordPress site, by using the API, you need authentication. And WordPress supports something known as basic auth, which is what we'll be using in this video. To configure that, you can go back to your WordPress dashboard, and then you can go to users, all users, click on your admin profile, scroll down, and here you can see application passwords. So an application password is what we'll be using in a basic authentication. So I'll type in a new application password name. I'll say automate. Click on add new application password, and this is going to generate a password for us. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back to my .env file, and I'll say WordPress application password, and then I'll save that. I'll also add another variable called WordPress domain, and I'll set this to my domain, which is techreader.io. All right, let me create a new file here called bot.py, and in here we'll write the logic to actually communicate with the WordPress REST API. And once again, I'll extract the environment variables, WordPress domain, and the WordPress application password. You can actually read the documentation of the WordPress API. I'll leave a link to this in the description as well. There is a lot of stuff that you can do with WordPress API, but for now, all we are worried about is posts. We want to be able to create posts to our WordPress blog. This is the endpoint where you can make requests to on your WordPress API to be able to create posts, to be able to list posts or create posts. If you want to list posts, you will use the get method. If you want to make a post, you would use the post method. There you go. And these are the different arguments or the different parameters that you can pass while making a request to that API endpoint while you're creating a post. You can set the title of the post, you can set the content for the post, and this content parameter expects values in HTML. So AI generates the content in Markdown format. We have to convert it from Markdown to HTML and then send it to the API. Similarly, you can give it an excerpt. Featured media is what we'll be using to set the thumbnail for that post, tags, categories, and finally, you can also set the status of your post to either publish, future, draft, pending, or private. So if you want to be able to review your post before it is public, you can set it to draft so that the script doesn't automatically publish your posts. You can review them manually and publish it. But if you don't want to intervene, you can just set this to publish and it would publish automatically. We're going to need two endpoints. The first one is the post URL, which is wp-json/wp/v2.post. This is the endpoint where you would make requests to if you want to create a post. And then we have another endpoint for uploading media, because once we generate a thumbnail, we also have to upload it to WordPress so that it can be referenced in that particular post as the thumbnail. And this is the endpoint where you will send a request to upload an image. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and configure the basic auth that is required for making the API calls, and this is how I'll do it. WordPress auth, WordPress username, WordPress application password. We don't have WordPress username yet, so let me go ahead and add it to my env file. The username is admin, so I'll come back and I'll also import it here. WordPress username is equal to WordPress _ username. Perfect. So I'm going to create a new function called create post. And the first thing I'll do here is get one unpublished topic from our database. So I'll say get unpublished topic. Let me go ahead and define this function, get unpublished topic. And what I want to do here is I'll start a infinite loop and I'll try to fetch one topic that is not yet published from our database. I'll say dbactions.getUnpublishedTopic. This function is defined in dbactions. It's going to basically try to retrieve one unpublished topic from the database. But if there exists no unpublished topics in the database, or in other words, if all the topics in the database have already been published, it means it's time to generate new topic ideas with AI. So in that case, I'll go ahead and call the generate topics function that I've just defined earlier in the AI generate.py file, which is going to generate a total of 5 times 6, which is 30 topic ideas. And it's going to also save them to the database. And then I'll just say continue. And finally, I'll go ahead and return the topic data. So over here, I am getting an unpublished topic. And once I have the topic, I'll go ahead and actually create the content for that topic. So I'll call the generate content function, which takes in the topic ID, category, and the topic. And if you can go back, the generate content function returns the content as a dictionary, as a Python object. So I'll go ahead and I'll parse the respective values. I'll say title is equal to content of title. And I'll say post content, which is the actual blog content, is going to be in the field called content. So this is still going to be in Markdown format, and WordPress API do not take content in Markdown format. It takes it in HTML format. So we still need to convert Markdown to HTML. And for that, we're using a library called Markdown. I'm just going to say post content equal to And then I'm using the Markdown library to convert from Markdown to HTML. So we now have the content for the blog post. Don't forget about the thumbnail. We also have to generate a thumbnail. So I'll say thumbnail URL, because this is going to return an URL of the image, equal to AI generate thumbnail, and I will pass in the topic. So this is a thumbnail URL. We still have to download the thumbnail and then actually upload it to WordPress. So I'll create a new directory called thumbnails in the current directory if it doesn't exist. And inside this new directory, I'll go ahead and save all my thumbnails. So first, I'll download the thumbnail from the thumbnail URL and then save it to a file under the thumbnails path. And the last step is to actually upload this thumbnail to WordPress. And this is very easy to do so. Just define the thumbnail data as the file and then just send a post request. And obviously don't forget to send it with the basic auth that we configured. So when we send this request, we are going to get a response that contains the thumbnail ID, and we need that ID number so that we can reference it in the post that we will be posting. So we will extract that thumbnail ID. I'll say thumbnail underscore ID equal to thumbnail response .json of ID. Awesome. So now we have also generated a thumbnail and uploaded it to WordPress. The final step is to actually create the post. So I'll define the post data, which contains the title of the post, the content, which is in HTML, and I'm setting the status to publish, and I'm also setting the featured media, which means the thumbnail image, to the thumbnail ID that I just extracted. And that should be it. Just make the request to the endpoint and the post will be created. Once the post is published, we also have to update it in the database so that the same topic will not be posted twice. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll say dbactions.set topic published, and then I'll pass in the topic ID. I'll also go ahead and delete the thumbnail because we no longer need it. We have already uploaded it, so I will remove it. And that looks like everything to me. Let me go ahead and actually test it. This is the moment of truth. Let's see if this all works together. Go ahead and execute bot.py. So database does not exist, initializing, and it creates a database, configures the tables and everything. So you can see the thumbnails directory is created. That's a good sign. It means the AI generated the thumbnail. Let's actually try to open this up. Oh, looks good, I guess. Well, it's better than many other AI images that I've seen. Oh, I shouldn't have opened it. The process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. Well, I shouldn't have opened this. Let me close this and let me run this again. Oh, actually, I think this might have already, let's see. Let's go to my dashboard, go to all posts, and it has actually created it. The reason why we got this error right here is because it's trying to delete the thumbnail file, but it couldn't because I've already opened it. But that doesn't mean the post hasn't already been created. As you can see, the post has been created. Go to techreader.io, refresh it. There we go. We have our post. Let's open it. Mastering GraphQL for efficient data fetching, a step-by-step guide for modern web developers. All right. And that looks like a proper blog post to me. You can see the code blocks and everything are all properly formatted. And that looks fine to me. So it's safe to say that our script did work. The only reason that we got this error is because I've opened that thumbnail, but the script is functional. So now I need to upload all this code to my server so that it can run 24/7 or whenever it's required. So I'll log back in to my web host most here, to my control panel, and I'll select DevTools here, and I'll click on terminal, which will open a browser-oriented terminal over here. You can see I'm currently at home/ followed by the username. So over here, I'll go ahead and create a new directory called AI_automate. And inside this, I'll go ahead and upload all my code. To upload my code files, I'll go to file management and I'll open file manager in a new tab. So I'll go to AI_automate and let me drag and drop all my files in here. What do I need here? I'll import dbactions.py, db.sqlite3, bot.py, aigenerate.py, and oh, I also need the env file because that contains the API keys and stuff. So I'll just drag and drop these here. And actually, before I deploy it, I'm going to create a new run.sh file, which is a bash script. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to run this Python script as a cron job, which means it will be scheduled to run at particular time intervals. Like for example, if you want to schedule this script to run at like 10 a.m. every day, you can do that with cron jobs. It's basically like a scheduler, like a task scheduler. And when the script is run as a cron job, I want to log all the output that the script produces. But by default, it's not going to be saved anywhere. If you run it from a terminal, it's going to be printed to the terminal. But if you're running it as a cron job, there is no way that the output can go to, like it's not saved anywhere. So I want to fix that. Technically, you don't need to write a bash script for this. You can just implement it directly in Python with the logging module, but I'm not going to do that. The easier way is to do this way, is to write a bash script. So here what I'm going to do is first I'm going to move into the current directory where the script exists, and then I'll create a new variable called timestamp, which gets the current timestamp in this format: year, month, day, underscore, hour, minute, seconds. Because each time the script is executed, it's going to create one post, right? So if you want, for example, to create 5 posts per day, you can schedule it to run 5 times a day using cron jobs. And each time this script is run, it's going to create its own output. And I want those outputs to be saved into individual files, which are named after the timestamp of execution. So that way it will be clear for me to debug in case there exists any error, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to create a new directory called logs in the current path. If it doesn't exist, it's going to create a new directory called logs. And for each execution of the script, I want to create a log file, which is going to be stored under logs. And the file name is going to be the timestamp variable followed by .log. So in other words, the file is going to be named after the timestamp. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually run bot.py, which is going to run this script and create the post. And I'm going to forward all that output to the log file. And that's it. That's a simple bash script that I will use to actually run the script. Instead of directly saying python bot.py, I'll do something like this so that the log files are, organized and stored. I basically want to capture everything that the script prints, any errors or anything. It would be easier for me to debug it. So I'm going to go back to my file manager, and I'll also upload this run.sh script here. And one thing that you should not forget is you need to make this executable, and only then it can be executed. So I'll right click on it and I'll select set permissions, and I'll enable execute for owner. Click on save, and that's it. So we have uploaded all the code here. If I go back to the terminal, if I type in Python, you can see Python is already installed. But if your Python version does not match, you can install a different version of Python. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video, but I will document it, and you can find all the documentation, all the code in the description below. I'll try to make it as clear as possible so that you can set this up from scratch even without having to watch the video. So check the GitHub repo link in the description below where you can find all the code and all the documentation. So I've also gone ahead and installed all the dependencies for this project. Like in this project, we have used OpenAI library, we have used Markdown library, and some others. So I've installed all of them with pip. So in simpler words, everything is configured here. The final thing that's left to do is to actually create a cron job. And to do that, I'll go to DevTools once again, and you can find cron jobs here. I'll open that in a new tab. Over here, you can create new cron jobs. I'll say create cron job here. And this is the page where you can actually create a cron job. So first of all, the command that you want to run. So if I go back to my terminal, you can see my run.sh exists in this path right here. So I'll just copy this path, come back here, change it to my run.sh path. So this is the full path where my run.sh script exists. So every time this cron job is executed, it's going to execute this command, this run.sh command, which as you know, in turn runs the Python script. And now let's configure the timings when you want this cron job to be executed. So I'll set the minute to 0, which means this cron job is going to be executed every 0th minute. And then we can set the hour. I want this to execute 5 times a day because I want to have 5 posts a day. So you can change this to however you want. For example, if you want to have 10 posts a day, you can do that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set 02, which means 2 a.m. and then 6 a.m., 10, 14, and 16. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to run this cron job at every 0th minute at 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and then 4. Or is it 4? I'll actually change this to 18. So it's 6 p.m. So it's going to run 5 times a day. So you can see right here, the cron job will run at 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 6 p.m. So this cron job will run every day at these hours, at the 0th minute of these hours. Awesome. So I'll just go ahead and click on create here, and that's going to create the cron job, and the cron job is now active. Another cool thing that you can do with Web Host Most is you can actually get email notifications whenever your cron job runs. So you will know if your cron job is a success or a failure, right? So you can click on send all cron output to email, and here you can type in the email address to which you want to forward the cron job output, and click on save, and every time the cron job runs, it's going to send you an email letting you know that the cron job has executed. And it's also going to append the output that it has generated, so you know if it succeeded or if it failed. So I just want to show you how the blog is looking after 24 hours. I don't think it's been 24 hours yet, less than 24 hours, but here you can see this is the blog. I have customized it a little bit. I have installed a new theme and changed the color themes and all that, but you can see I now have 5 posts. This one was the initial post that I created, and after that initial post, 4 more posts have been generated by AI automatically. So let me go ahead and click on this one, for example, exploring quantum computing algorithms, writing your first quantum code. Let's see what that is about. You can see it has a very nice thumbnail image that the AI generated, something related to quantum computing. And you can see the content, and you can also see the code blocks are also formatted correctly. And let's look at another article, Mastering WebAssembly for High Performance Web Applications, a step-by-step guide. Looks or sounds interesting. Let's see what that is about. Nice. It has written some information about WebAssembly and how to install the tools, a hello world example, and etc. Looks very cool, doesn't it? So I actually tried to calculate how much it is costing me to generate one post, the OpenAI API costs, and I recorded it's costing me about 10 to 15 cents per making each post. It could be cheaper if I used DeepSeek instead of OpenAI, but unfortunately DeepSeek is not accepting new developer accounts at the moment. My initial plan was to use DeepSeek because it's a lot cheaper than ChatGPT or OpenAI, but since that is not available, I have used OpenAI in this video. But hey, the code is open source, so feel free to give it a try with DeepSeek and let me know how much cheaper is this when implemented with DeepSeek API. Once again, all the code I've written in this video will be in the description below. You can find the GitHub repo link in the description. Go ahead and check it out. I'll also document all the steps I've done in that GitHub repo so you know what to do. So anyways, that will be all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something new. If you did like this video, please do not forget to leave a thumbs up below, and also do leave a comment in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, cheers. Oh, how's my new hairstyle, by the way?